In the spirit of Halloween, I thought it might be fun to take a look at Charmed episodes I try to avoid watching because honestly they creep me out. But hey, it's that time of the year, so I figured, why not just pick my top 5 and talk about why I think those episodes were a little bit more unsettling than the others. I'm gonna try not to be a baby about this, but I'm a total scaredy cat, so I can go either way, really. Anyway, let's start at the bottom of the list with number 5. The first episode I vote for being one of the creepiest Charmed episodes is the season 3 episode, We All Scream for Ice Cream. And the thing about it is, this episode isn't even that bad at all. It's just that it's way too connected to a lot of things that bothered me as a kid for me not to be creeped out by it. And there's 3 main reasons for that. The first one being the music.
Hello?
I mentioned some of this in the Charmed Easter eggs video, but this episode gave me a lifelong fear of ice cream trucks to the point that even hearing the music just, I don't know, it just does something to me. I can't stand to hear it. Like, has that ever happened to anyone else where you hear a piece of music and it just instantly bothers you and you can't explain why? Ice cream truck music is one of the very few pieces that does that to me, and I just can't stand to listen to it. The other notable one I can think of being the music that plays in the Desert of Tears in the video game Dragon, The Ancient's Gates, because even though I love that game to bits, always have, always will, there is just something about that music that cuts straight through my nerves and I have to get away from it. And I'm going to edit in a little bit of that music here so you can see what I mean, but I'm going to try and edit it in a way that I don't have to hear it too. So here it goes. This is the track that is referred to as Desert Morning from Dragon, The Ancient's Gates. Just, I love most of the music from that game, but not that one. That one just really bothers me for whatever reason, and the sound of ice cream trucks has the same effect. I don't know if it's because of this episode and the association, or if this episode just so happened to be my first time hearing an ice cream truck since I was raised in a very small town and we didn't have one, but whatever the case, I just find ice cream truck music so sinister, and it makes it very hard for me to watch this episode, especially since I was a child when I first watched it, and the scene where the little girl gets pulled into the ice cream truck scared my sister and I so bad that we turned off the episode right there and then. So for the longest time, we didn't know that the kids were evil. We just thought there was an episode of Charmed where some weirdo in an ice cream truck was kidnapping little kids, and it was like, dark. We are not watching that episode. And then another reason the episode really bothered us is the nothing.
Please help me.
Help you from what?
The nothing.
Is that the man that we just saw here?
It's up there. It comes for you, for everybody. And when it gets you, the only thing left for you stood is nothing.
Does anyone remember The Never-Ending Story? Oh my gosh, I remember my mom watching that movie when I was a kid and it messed me up. That one, Once Upon a Forest, and Grave of the Fireflies are 3 movies I will never watch again ever in my life. And the thing is, I don't even remember The Never-Ending Story all that well. I just remember being terrified of it, and specifically The Nothing. So of course, one of my favorite TV shows went and made an episode where the forest inside the frozen world is called The Nothing. Sucks people up, never to be seen again. No thank you, hard pass. And then the other reason we try to avoid this episode is the evil little kids. For some strange reason, our mom and babysitters had a weird fascination with scary movies when we were kids, and we saw way more than we should have before we even started school. And so of course, by extension, we saw a fair few movies where the kids were pure evil, and it left my sister and I with a bit of a fear of evil kids.
Okay, do they do that because they think it's funny or just to freak us out?
And like I said, it's actually not a bad episode at all, although I think they forgave Victor a bit too easily given everything, but that's neither here nor there. Point is, if you can get past the music and the nothing and the evil kids, it's actually a pretty solid Charmed episode. The next episode on our list, coming in at number 4, is the season 4 episode Size Matters. In this episode, there's a creepy old man, the same guy who played Freddy Krueger, in fact, who's using a being he created to lure young women to their house, kidnap them, shrink them, cover them in clay, burn them to death in the kiln, and then paint them to keep as a, quote, art collection. I'm sure I probably don't need to explain why that whole prospect is absolutely horrifying, but my god, even the house is creepy. I can definitely see why it bothered Paige so much. Speaking of, has anyone else ever had that happen to them? Where you pass a house that just creeps you out and you can't explain why? I remember there was this one a few miles outside my hometown, which we only went out there a few times because someone we knew lived out there, and that was really the only reason to be out there. But yeah, so we only saw it a few times, but every single time I saw this house, I was like, I'm never going in there. But yeah, this whole episode is creepy with a capital C. And poor Phoebe, can you imagine being shrunk and covered in clay and then stuck on a shelf watching this psycho get ready to burn a girl in the kiln knowing you're next? I'm so glad they vanquished the guy in the end, but I can't believe the spell didn't make him go up in flames given the wording.
Small of mind, big of woe, the pain you caused, you now will know,
The third episode on our list is the season 1 episode, Dream Sorcerer. In this episode, there is a man who is paralyzed in a car accident and uses his research at a dream lab to enter the dreams of women who reject him and murder them for it.
No, Sky, you rejected me, and now you gotta pay.
This is probably one of the creepiest episodes in my opinion, and this guy is the reason why. Don't get me wrong, he makes a good villain, but he's also absolutely terrifying. I saw this episode for the first time when I was like 10 or 11, so when he said,
Did you know that if you die in your dreams, you die in real life?
my little kid brain was like, oh my god, is that actually true? It got to me so bad, and come to think of it, it wasn't too long after that I started having dreams where I'd wake up right before I died. So, yeah, I think this episode had a deeper effect on me than I realized. Anyway, something that also scares me about this episode is something that I mentioned in one of my old Harry Potter videos regarding Tom Riddle. The idea that someone can look completely normal on the outside, but inside they're just straight up evil is just absolutely terrifying. It's an idea that's always really unsettled me, and it's made me very careful about who I invite into my life and what personal info I give out. And this episode is the perfect example of that fear. Someone who looks normal on the outside, even sympathetic, but it's just a mask that hides the fact that he's a raging psychopath that found a way to be a serial killer and not get caught. And he doesn't just kill them, by the way, which is bad enough on its own, but he has to scare them first. He has to make sure they know why this is happening to them and relishes the way they beg for their life before he throws them off a building to die.
Shall I say goodnight?
Good night.
Honestly, if he hadn't decided to go after a witch who managed to use her powers to defeat him, God only knows how many women he would have harassed and killed. And the worst thing about it is that there are people out there in the world that are just like him and share that sort of mentality. You don't know who they are or where they are, but they're out there, and you just have to hope and pray that you don't meet them. So yeah, a great Charmed episode to be sure, but also really, really creepy. Anyway, moving on to the number 2 episode, aka the silver medal of what are, in my opinion, some of the creepiest Charmed episodes, is another season 1 episode, Out of Sight. I really hesitate to bring this up because I've had way too many experiences with people thinking it's funny to try and use it to upset me, but my issues with the next 2 episodes won't make sense if I don't, so I'll just say I have a thing about eyes. I do not like seeing them be touched by anything, especially if they're being damaged or cut in any way, and it's just something that's always really, really bothered me. So watching the Grimlocks not only kidnap a little boy, leaving him down in the dark sewer so they can eat him later, literally eat him, but they also use their powers to steal his eyesight and leave him blind.
I can't see. Why can't I see? Mom?
Oh my gosh, this whole episode is so creepy, and I will not watch it in the dark. I made that mistake when I was 11 because I didn't know what was coming, and trust me, lesson learned. I was just there like... It also doesn't help that the Grimlocks have whirling red eyes just like it, which I'm guessing this episode was probably inspired by, given the sewer great thing and the whirling eyes and the eating of children.
Your brother was a traitor to the Order and an eater of children.
And it's just like, oh, why? Why of all the horror movies does it have to be that one? My sister and I are terrified of that movie. The babysitter we had when we were very young, I was 4 and she was 2, had the bright idea to let us watch it. And it scared us so bad, we've avoided it like the plague ever since. And the fact that this episode of Charmed seems to draw from that movie makes us avoid it too. Just not worth the nightmares, you know? And the final episode on our list, taking the top spot and my vote for creepiest Charmed episode, is the season 5 episode, The Eyes Have It. Remember how I said I have issues with eyes?
What do you want?
His revenge, and of course,
Your eyes.
I have a good feeling about these eyes, Father.
Yeah, the fact that this episode completely revolves around eyes and them literally being gouged out, I can't watch this episode at all. In fact, watching it for this video was my first time seeing it since I first saw it back when I got the season 5 DVD set. And even now, I pretty much kept my eyes on the table and just listened because no way. I know this episode probably wouldn't be at the top spot of most people's list, but for me, it's the one episode I just can't do. But yes, those are the 5 episodes I have a hard time watching, and I don't know where the accent came from. Let's get rid of it. Okay, I think it's gone. But what about you? What are your picks for the creepiest or scariest Charmed episodes? Are there any scenes in particular you have a hard time watching because they're just a little bit too creepy? Or, you know, anything really. Like, are there any movies or other TV shows that are just a little bit too creepy for your taste? Feel free to let me know. And there's another accent. What is happening? My mom's right. I really do just take on accents without thinking. So let me end this video before it happens again. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye!